I'm Doug Ebersole. I started diving back in 1974. Started technical diving around 2000 and diving rebreathers in 2002. I've been teaching KISS rebreathers since 2005. My real job, I'm an interventional cardiologist, which I jokingly say means I go to work in my pajamas and look at video games all day. The combination of being a cardiologist and diving since 1974, I'm the cardiology consultant for Divers Alert Network, so I end up doing a lot of work with them. My real passion in diving is teaching, so I teach all levels from open water up through rebreathers, but rebreathers are kind of my thing, the thing I enjoy the most. Along those lines, when you take rebreather training, there's a lot of talk about caustic cocktail and the dangers of getting water in your unit because the sorb that we use to scrub out the carbon dioxide when wet becomes a liquid, very strong base. If you think about acid and base from chemistry class, it's a very strong base, kind of like swallowing toilet bowl cleaner, as you can imagine. So it helps to have personal stories of these things. So let me tell you my personal story of a bad caustic cocktail. I was leading a trip to Palau and Yap. We had 18 people on the trip, I believe. And I was diving a very new to the market rebreather. And it appeared to be working well. We found out later that there was a problem with one of the O-rings, which is what led to this story. As usually is the case with something like a caustic cocktail, it's user error. So in Palau, you dive off pangas. So we had gone 2 dives in the morning. We had gone to lunch. Third dive in the afternoon, I had my rebreather set up on the boat. Did not check it after lunch because we're getting ready for the third dive of the day. And apparently, it had been leaking minimally through the dive, the first 2 dives. It had a Extend-Air cartridge for a scrubber as opposed to loose sorb, which are easy to pack. The downside, however, is if anyone who dives rebreathers knows if you have sorb and it gets wet, it kind of turns into mud, which absorbs some of the water. The Extend-Air cartridges don't do that. They just basically bathe the water in this caustic material, so you have a lot more water. And this particular rebreather had front-mounted counterlungs. So we dropped in the water. Everyone signaled to go down. I went head first, and as luck would have it, as I inhaled is when the caustic hit my mouth. So I had no warning at all. I inhaled probably several ounces of caustic material at about 20 or 30 feet. Immediately started coughing. I bailed out. I came to the surface. My wife surfaced with me, said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I'll be fine. Had them continue the dive. I got back to the panga. Again, this is a very strong base. So I got water, rinsed out my mouth with water, just trying to get as much of that gone as possible. Started coughing, coughed up a little blood. Waited for them to finish the dive. We got back to the boat. I then went into pulmonary edema, which means I had fluid building up in my lungs. I could tell because I couldn't lay flat. If I laid flat, I couldn't breathe. So I had to sit up. And again, we're in Palau, so we're in the middle of nowhere on a liveaboard. So I just kind of dealt with it. I kind of knew what was going on. And then over the next 12 hours, I completely lost my voice. I couldn't speak. So I was whispering, and of course, I was running this trip. So we finished the rest of the trip in Palau. We then went to Yap, spent 5 or 6 days in Yap. Again, I couldn't talk the entire time. I got home, and I called up one of my ear, nose, and throat colleagues and told him kind of what happened. And he said, "Why don't you come in and let me take a look at you?" So I go in, and he scopes me, goes down my nose, and looks at my vocal cords. And he told me that was the worst chemical burn that he had ever seen. And I said, "It happened 2 weeks ago. It's been healing for 2 weeks." So he immediately told me, "You can't talk, okay? You can't speak until you come back and see me in 2 weeks, and we'll take another look." And actually whispering, I learned this, I didn't know this, that whispering is actually worse on your vocal cords than talking. So don't whisper, don't talk at all. So I spent 2 weeks with my PA trying to see consults in the hospital, and I'd have to write a note and show it to him, and then he'd have to ask a question, and then we'd write notes back and forth. I couldn't dictate anything, so I had to type everything by hand, all my consults and stuff and reports. So 2 weeks later, I go back, I see him, he scopes me again, he says, "Still no talking. Come back in 2 weeks." So 4 weeks later, a total of 4 weeks, I go back, he scopes me again, "You can't talk." And at 6 weeks, he finally allowed me to return to talking. And I've been fine ever since. But just thought that's, people hear about caustic cocktails. You may taste a little bit of this when you're doing your rebreather class. You don't want a caustic cocktail. I'm kind of here to tell you that's not a great experience to go through.
Hey everyone! Thanks for watching our latest episode all the way to the end. Hit that subscribe button now so you won't miss our next episode.